Hey guys, so Paul wanted to talk about something.
I was like, oh, I want to talk about something. No, I mean, okay. I think I want to start. All right, so today we're going to be talking about the sort of type of Yu-Gi-Oh content that we like, and maybe sort of like pull back the curtain a bit on why we
That's
make
right.
the sort of Yu-Gi-Oh content that we do. I know that that's
This is the part of Wizard of Oz where they said don't look behind the curtain. Well, we're pulling the curtain open.
yeah, so I guess to start, a comment that we often get on a lot of videos is why don't you guys duel with your like tournament decks? Why don't you duel, like serious duels with your, serious modern day meta decks? And
Okay.
there's a couple reasons for it, so we can, I guess, go into that.
My number one reason, this kind of trumps them all. Don't play in that many tournaments, to be honest. I usually don't have a meta deck.
Yeah, to be clear, that's probably the best, the most relevant one for us. Is like I have not played in the Yu-Gi-Oh tournament in like.
It was before the pandemic.
I mean, I played maybe in one tournament last year.
Oh, okay.
I haven't played in a lot of tournaments. So that's one reason. I mean, I have a lot of decks built. They're mostly built kind of more in a casual, just pure way. So we don't really have those. I mean, now Trell has tournament decks. For sure, he's always competing. But that's kind of, and Larry doesn't really, Larry's been playing more Magic lately. So
Chris has some,
yeah, but he's here probably the least. I mean, the thing is, so that's probably the biggest reason. But also, it's just that genuinely, I find competitive Yu-Gi-Oh to be a harder thing to turn into digestible content.
right.
And for reasons. So don't take this as I hate modern Yu-Gi-Oh. I know
Yu-Gi-Oh sucks.
Yeah, I'm not trying to say that. It's just that it's actually really hard to make those games be engaging and fun as content goes, at least as far as what I want to do. So modern Yu-Gi-Oh's got a lot of moving parts and combos are really, really long. And something that can happen is when you're doing the combos so fast, you don't really have the time to explain every step because that's really, really tedious. So then cards are just kind of flying around. And it's just summon, search, set, special, set, send, pitch, cost, chain, target, chain. And it's just hard to follow for people, so.
I mean, I think we have to talk about the kind of people that watch our videos. There are people that usually consistent Yu-Gi-Oh players who they don't mind sitting through these combos. They don't mind watching two relevant meta decks go at it head to head. But a lot of people that watch our videos, they're on the more fringe side of Yu-Gi-Oh. They're fans, they have played, maybe they play a little, but they're not really up to date on how Yu-Gi-Oh is played today, and they don't really know too much about the meta game. And they can get lost when they watch these decks play, regardless of whether or not you explain them or don't explain them.
Right, yeah. I think another thing too is that there's a certain appeal to kind of the retro duels and stuff. I know not everybody loves them, but I always kind of tell people if you want to see modern Yu-Gi-Oh played well, there's a load of channels that do a 10 billion times better job than we could honestly ever hope to do. And meanwhile, I would say that there's a certain evergreenness to doing kind of Yugi versus Jaden and these classic characters people like. If I was to do a video imagine if we had done say a Tearlament versus Sprite match a couple months ago, that already would be it's not relevant anymore. You know what I mean? It's already the ban list has changed. The decks have been hit, and so no one's really looking to watch that. And the same even goes with Kashtira. Say we were to play it's Photon Hypernova, Kashtira versus I don't know, whatever, Labyrinth or something. But the thing is, maybe in a few months that might not be almost certainly in a few months that won't even be really the relevant metagame. So I find that that's just kind of it's eh.
And we don't really like videos that that stop growing. They hit a point and they just plateau.
Yeah. And then another thing that you can probably speak to with that as well is people I don't know if people are like really like tied to like stuff like Kashtira really. Like, you know.
I think they look cool.
Yeah, like yeah, maybe you like them, you know, for like I guess a visual reason or something. But like, I think that some people just aren't like interested in watching that. So, and that's like not like a fun answer, I guess.
But things like that, just kind of jumping off of that, meta decks, Sprite, Kashtira, T-Elements, these decks, they have a few. There are people who like them and will like them forever. The vast majority of people that play these decks, however, are only playing them because they're meta relevant and their interests die as soon as the ban list hits.
Yeah.
Like, unlike if we make a Yugioh versus somebody deck, or we revisit the
or even if it's
so-and-so
like new, or
structure
even
deck.
if it's like, you know, Kite versus Yuma, like that's still more of like a. It's you can kind of find value in that forever.
Because this is a fact. This is a fact, and it hasn't even occurred yet. But in 5 years, there will be more fans of a Kite character deck than the Kasatra deck.
Yeah, so, you know, that's kind of a thing. Also, here's another, like, just total disclosure. We're not, like, that good at playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Honestly, I think anybody who watches some of these duels.
Watch enough of us play,
like, we mess up something in literally every duel. Like, every duel has a misplay. That even applies to, like, people like Trell and stuff. Like, even he, like, will, like, just misread a card or do something wrong. And, like, I know a lot of people, they don't mean any harm when they'll leave comments and just sort of like, oh, like, this doesn't work this way, or you misplayed this, or that was an illegal activation. And like, that's fine, but also, like, I think given that we mess up even basic stuff, you guys really would not want to see us playing, like, complex modern Yu-Gi-Oh decks, because we would just screw them up.
We would mess up.
And I will say that in our defense too, though, it's like playing Yu-Gi-Oh for the camera is harder than I think a lot of people probably give it credit for. It's so, like, you know, like when you watch the videos, it's easy to kind of just like sit at the armchair and like pick out like, oh, like you did this wrong. Oh, this was activation. This doesn't work that way. Oh, you missed this little bit of damage here. But the thing is, like, in real Yu-Gi-Oh, those mistakes actually do happen just as much, especially like in feature matches. Like, I look at like the YCS feature matches, and people will like be in the chat just tearing into players because like someone forgot to resolve this. He's cheating, or like I can't believe like that's such an obvious thing.
And these are some of the best Yu-Gi-Oh players out there.
Yeah, and these are like the best players, and so, you know, it's just when you have like a camera on you, because we're also trying to, you know, like,
unlike a feature match,
like we're trying to sort of play a character a bit, you know.
That we want you guys to have fun, not just us.
Yeah, we try to, like, you know, explain the cards. So whenever like I play a card, I'll actually, you know, like, okay, I activate Reinforce the Army, lets me get a warrior from my deck to my hand. I try to kind of like generally summarize the cards so that like new people or just maybe more casual people can follow along.
Or sometimes we question what they do. I activate Pot of Greed.
Yeah. And that's something that's like been more of an acquired skill. Like at the start, like we all kind of did duels where it's just sort of like summon, chain, effect, and like just kind of moving the cards around without really saying.
And when we first started changing that, we would do this. We'd say, I normal summon Cybernetic Cyclopean, pickup card. While you have no cards in your hand, this card gains 1,000 attack. Put it back down.
Yeah, so we've tried
to... Are you entertained?
Exactly, see, we've tried to find this mix, and it's actually harder than you would think. Like, it's to find this middle ground between explaining the cards, but also like summarizing them and not just reading the card text, and then also doing that like within character. And then there's like the out of duel things where it's like, make sure the cameras are still recording, make sure like the composition's good, like the audio waveforms are showing up. You know, lighting and stuff like looks
We've done
proper.
whole videos without any audio.
How long has it gone on? Are the memory cards running out of, you know, whatever? Is the battery running out of whatever? So that's like also another thing. That's not really, I guess, doesn't have that much to do with why we don't do a certain type of duel, but it's just...
I mean, we're talking about content,
yeah,
so let's talk about content.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it all adds up. Like, it's not to say that, like, I guess I don't want to come across as complaining, like, oh, this is all so hard and terrible, like, you know, boo-hoo, woe is me, but more just like, we kind of picked a type of duel that we really like to show and do, and lean into that. And I always tell people, it's not like we don't like competitive tournament Yu-Gi-Oh, but like, I feel like if we played it, we would probably be a lot less like vocal and a lot less fun, and we would just be like, because like you want to focus. Because
I already know for a fact when I'm playing seriously, I'm not speaking at all. I'm just
it's much more focused, much more kind of groany, and you know, So I think like there are people who they think that that's what they want, and maybe it is, but that's not really, I think, what the majority of like kind of just Yu-Gi-Oh viewers on YouTube necessarily want.
I think what those people want is kind of like that chess experience of like watching, grandmasters and stuff play chess. They don't really emote too much. They're just making moves on the board. And oftentimes they're very technically sound moves and you can try to analyze what they're doing and whatnot. You can't keep up. They're grandmasters. But the difference between that and Yu-Gi-Oh is all the pieces on a chessboard only move in very specific ways, and there aren't rulings really.
Yeah.
In Yu-Gi-Oh, all these cards, like compare this guy with one line of text versus this card that has an entire paragraph. It's hard to play this game completely correctly.
Playing it totally soundly is
100%
it's pretty
of the
rough
time.
on camera and stuff. And then also once the video's done, you can't really. It's pretty impractical to go back and re-record a duel or something.
Though some companies, not gonna name them, have definitely asked us to do that.
I've been asked to do it by a certain company or two, but no, just one. But yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing. I just wanted to pull the curtain back a little bit on that because it's I guess what I would say to people who sort of want that is I would challenge you to gather a friend, take a friend, right, and try to sort of replicate it all. Try to play a modern Yu-Gi-Oh duel and play a bit of a character, explain the cards while you do it, and also even set up 2 face cams and try to sort of set up an overhead thing and then try to turn it into a duel that is succinct and played perfectly and you'll suddenly find out.
Try to entertain the camera.
Yeah, try to kind of do all that. It's pretty tough. So
that's why we stick to the simple stuff.
Yeah, and that's why I will say though, there are channels that do a great job of showcasing competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Watch Pac, I don't know, he's a genius, right? Watch them. They can play a lot more modern decks really well. I just want more so for us to just be just an entryway point and a casual enjoyment of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Everybody has their lane in the YouTube sphere. It's the same for your Yu-Gi YouTubers too. We all have our own lanes that we operate in. Jesse Cotton has a YouTube channel now.
Yeah.
I say competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! On YouTube is done. He's on the platform.
Thing. Exactly. Don't watch. Literally, if you want competitive Yu-Gi-Oh!, just don't watch us. Honestly, just don't watch us. Go watch him. Go watch Pac. Go watch people who know what they're doing. Props to them for being as good as they are. I don't know how they do it, but I'm just saying, I guess for us now. Okay, so it doesn't end on too much of a negative note.
This has been negative?
Yeah, some people might view this. You're not used to this channel. People always think I'm complaining on here. I guess to end on a positive note, we do want to do more theme duels that are a little bit more modern in nature. Because I do know that sometimes with these old starter and structure decks, it can be a little mundane.
Yes, and once
limited.
you've seen one Yu-Gi deck, you feel like you've seen them all.
Yeah, and they all kind of suck. So we want to kind of, because we've done this before where it's okay, maybe a modern Dark Magician versus modern hero deck. There could be something there, so I want to explore more of that, especially because there's so much to do with Zexal characters and Arc 5 characters now. So, that might be fun.
We've even thought about extremely complicated duels. Stop running from Valence versus Mech Knights, Paul.
Yeah, we could do something like that. So, I mean, we do want to do more of that just to keep it fresh and kind of provide more to a person who maybe is more invested in today's Yu-Gi-Oh! But yeah, so that was kind of it. Anything, did I miss?
I said a bunch of random things, so I'm good.
Yeah, so let us know though. What do you think is the middle ground with that? Do you think we're just full of shit and maybe who cares? I don't know.
Or maybe, are you happy with our content? You can say that.
Or are you happy? Yeah, you can say that too. We'll be happy. Yeah, okay.
But
cool.
We'll see you guys in the next one.
Fast turn.